Hey everyone, and welcome to back. Welcome to back.
Welcome to back.
front.
Hey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Good Enough Gaming Podcast. As always, I'm joined by the Three Stooges,
Guilty.
Larry, Curly, and Mo.
I'm
I
Curly.
guess I'm Curly since I have hair.
No, Curly was the bald one, Daryl. That was the joke.
Their real names are Trevor, Daryl, and Jordan. If you wanted to know. This week's maybe. This week's episode is entitled "You're Giving Me a Complex." It's very apt. Have you ever replayed a favorite game of yours and just thought to yourself, I miss when games were designed this well? Us too. Maybe we're showing our age, but maybe, just maybe, some games have become too complex and input heavy, when simpler games with focus on other pieces had our attention for long spans of time. So what's been going on in the development of games? Why do they feel like they need to push harder and complicate things more? Do I need to stand on my head to play this? Like, we don't know for sure, but we can definitely take some wild guesses and piss all over the games that we think have gone too far. Join us in this discussion to find out if we are onto something or it's just another case of your old Git Good.
There's a chance that it's that. There's a chance.
Little column B. Yeah.
So, like, do you guys think games are way too complicated now? Should we do we need to maybe bring back some less mechanic heavy options? And do we think it would reduce delays in the industry?
Yes. Easy answer.
Yeah?
Yes.
Cool. Great.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Thanks.
And wrap that one up.
All right,
No problem. Shortest episode ever.
So this one is very interesting because there's some games that have more intricate inputs, but they're still intuitive and makes the game easy to play. Then there's other ones where there's so many different mechanics or, just button inputs that it completely ruins it. And if you, especially in a multiplayer scenario, those inputs is essentially the difference between sucking at a game and not. This, no further than us playing Black Ops 6 last night. Our first dive back into Call of Duty after a few years off, and you could smell the sweat coming from the screen.
Omni movement.
Exactly this movement and people that are for lack of a better terms, just absolute sweats in a casual recreational game. This isn't ranked matching. This is just Call of Duty with SBMM. And Jordan can attest to this. We played some games and got absolutely shit on last night just because we had won a match. Think back to controllers and your intensity and ferocity of trying to play a game.
And it's creaking as you're
Yeah.
That's usually the sound of me twisting it out of anger.
Yeah.
Well, if we want to dive into the whole Call of Duty debacle, so what Kyle's kind of leaning into here for people that aren't super familiar with that franchise is back in the Black Ops 2 days, Modern Warfare 3, but the original Modern Warfare 3, a lot of those multiplayer matches were just lobby hosted. So if you got into a lobby with 12 people, you could run that lobby essentially as long as you wanted to, as long as people stayed. It didn't matter.
Shit all night.
So that was some of the best parts, is you would have guys that were chirping each other throughout an entire match, and then the next game they get rolled to be on the same team.
That was so much chaos.
And then you're having to hear all of it through there too. But more importantly, the issue, to Kyle's point, is skill-based matchmaking, there's a huge issue with it in multiplayer shooters right now. And Call of Duty is the worst, to the point where if you win a game as a team, it doesn't matter if Kyle goes 12-37, he got the win. His team got the win.
Yeah.
That next game that we get loaded into, the skill-based matchmaking is so skewed to the one side that, I've had a couple of times where I'll be matched up against an entire clan team. So the entire team's all got the same clan tags, 6 of them.
Oh fuck!
And
well, this is gonna go well.
Just turn a corner
Yeah.
to a bunch of dudes with baseball bats. Hey, just an alley full of guys. Just like
I'm
Yeah.
not meant to be here. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
go back.
can I leave, please?
I've
Thanks.
offended you. I am sorry.
Yeah. And so it just makes for a pretty frustrating experience. The gameplay itself, I think, is actually quite enjoyable, but as of right
Yeah.
now, the way that the game is built, the skill-based matchmaking is a problem. And if they don't fix it, I think a lot of people will disappear in the next few months.
I might be done after this
Yeah.
month. I bought a month of
Whoa.
Xbox Game Pass.
Kyle's out.
I think
I
a
think
lot
the
of
big
people will
one-
be like that, honestly. I think a lot of people bought a month, just like you did, to play it. I think they're going to play as much of Call of Duty as they physically can. And in that 30 days when it's up, they're going to be like, okay, well, I've had my fill.
Wait for Warzone.
6 months from now, they might come back again and rent another month, but it's not going to retain people long term.
No.
Is the problem.
So I mean, we've kind of gotten like off base from like the complexity thing,
Yeah. Let's get back to it.
but I think the complexity of controls and the amount of like skill and time it takes to understand and execute that complexity is like a game changing thing, right? Like we played against a guy who was just using a shotgun last night and was like sliding all over the fucking place. And like, it
Because
was,
when I see clips of war online and things, guys,
yeah,
what I
knee
see is a
slides.
bunch of guys sliding everywhere and doing
Yeah.
power slides. And
Yeah.
Doing the
So
Max
that's my favorite
Payne.
part of war
Have you
now.
ever just jumped
Max
through the
Payne
air and fired
diving
2
in
guns
the
yelling
air.
"arg"?
Yeah.
So practical.
So, anyways, I,
think-
just
I
started
think it's-
blasting.
I think as far as the like complexity thing is concerned, Twitch streaming and movement mechanics in Call of Duty ruin the game as much as skill-based matchmaking.
The big one for me is like, I think now that we've gotten these like there's a couple of reasons. One, you've got games who are on their like 10th sequel,
Yeah.
right? And then you've also got games like a Fortnite. The only thing that Fortnite does that's good is they rotate things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
Fortnite will bring in a new item. It might be good, it might be shit for that season. It's a complexity, but then they take out the other stuff. So like this one, we've got the grapple hook or whatever, right?
Mm.
But the issue with that, and same with some of these games that have like sequels, they're like, well, instead of just like, the story team's going to do their thing, which honestly, they could probably use a couple more people these days on the story teams. But instead, they're like,
Really?
hey, how do we make this different from the previous game? I know, let's add a bunch of fucking mechanics that don't have anything to do with this game to,
Mhm.
give you more options and stuff, right? And it's just like, well, not every car needs a laser beam Gatling gun on the front of it, like in real life, right? Like you're doing too much. Do less.
In the next Need for
Yeah.
Speed, you can
Do-
shoot
Yeah,
your
right.
opponent.
Yes,
Okay,
do less.
Yeah.
So I think
yeah.
I think that's a really important distinction. Is I think game developers, they confuse two things: depth for complexity. And-
Newness.
Yeah. And I think in a lot of modern games, they just throw a bunch of new mechanics and a bunch of new gameplay features and they call it depth. Or, in open world games, you'll get 150 side quests. There's only maybe 10 of them that are different variations.
Daryl and I are on the same page, I think.
Yeah.
There's maybe only 10 like themes of side quests, but they give 150 to you and they say, well, you guys asked for depth, we're giving you depth. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, that's not quite what we asked for. And so I think there's a bit of a confusion there.
I'll give you my first call out for the evening as an example. Horizon Forbidden West.
Yes.
I love that
Yeah.
game.
Bing,
It
bing,
is a
ding.
holy grail of this household, and my wife will hit me if she finds out about this. Horizon, like, it's a game. You are shooting, you're in Turok mode, right? You're shooting bows, you're doing things like that. The melee combat in that game, in the first one, is entirely secondary.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the occasional combo, the occasional little thing. In the second game, not only do they add a bunch of new weapons, which is awesome, that's the thing they should have focused on. They then did these pit fights and included melee
Combos.
mechanics, combos that I would say are more confusing than some Mortal Kombat games, where it's like,
It's like-
square, square, pause, wait for like a sound cue or no cue, and then it's like triangle, square, and it's just like,
Why?
This isn't
Why? What does this
isn't
add to
fucking
this game?
Tekken. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't Tekken. I'm here to shoot robot dinosaurs with bows and arrows. That's the point of this game. And they spent all this time adding this mechanic, and you're just like, half the times the combos don't work. They're so complicated. You can't
When you're
remember them. There's like
Yeah.
50 of them.
And you're
Mhm.
adding it to a game that's very fast and fluid, and you're
Yeah.
asking people to pause to like activate a certain combo. And it's like that completely
Why?
defeats the whole purpose
It's
Yeah.
not
of
meant
the
to
pace
be.
of play.
A game that's also about like stealth and not necessarily getting close to people because you're
Yeah.
setting traps and like
Yeah.
shooting them from far away. It's like, yes, having a melee mechanic's important because you do get into like one-on-one close combat, but like give me like even a God of War or simpler set
Yes.
of combos, right? Square, square, square,
Yes.
square,
Yeah.
triangle. Like, but don't give me these like pause mechanics like I'm in a fucking Street Fighter Pro tournament where I've
Yeah.
got to like time and like, do the
I
swipe
agree.
on the controller.
And I'm good at those games, and I agree with you
Yeah.
wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just completely useless. It's time wasted on
Yeah.
things that could have made the game better.
I have a counter side to that. Time wasted on things that actually like break the game entirely. This one may piss off a lot of like Nintendo fans,
Oh.
but like Legend of Zelda,
It's not their
Uh,
fault. Their system can't run their own game.
no, well, not just that, but like
Hey,
like
we all
this-
know
this-
that's a problem.
the second one was Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Yes.
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 Yes. The building, like the custom building mechanics that they put into it, did they not think that people were going to just absolutely find a way to exploit and break the game? And personally, I think that ruins the game. It ruins the story.
Well, to
Like-
me, Zelda isn't Zelda anymore.
No.
And I
No.
I
The
think
story's
for
pretty
the
flimsy.
Come
At
at
that
us,
point, yeah.
IGN. I
Yeah.
dare you.
yeah, get fucked. Like I think for new age gamers that need that instant gratification, and there's that argument of like instant dopamine hits,
Creativity.
the new Zelda definitely fucking hits that. But Zelda was always popular for having a very good narrative story, very deep lore, and being able to just explore the world and learn as you go. And yeah, like Tears of the Kingdom is with the building mechanic is a huge issue. I had actually written down Breath of the Wild on my list because even adding in the temperature mechanic and having to change clothes depending on what biome you're in, I don't need that in a Zelda game. Like, it's cool in survival crafting horror shit. That's fine. But my Zelda game does not need that mechanic at all.
Yeah,
I
but
just-
how else are you going to wear Parka Link if you don't? Like,
Jordan's here for cross-dress Link, and that's it.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Jeez.
it's just unnecessary, kind of cool in the first hour maybe because it's different, but when you're 30 hours in and you keep getting a lightning bolt dropped up your asshole because you're wearing metal armor, like I don't want to switch from my super high armor to cloth armor because I'm worried about a lightning storm. That's not why I'm playing Zelda.
That's misconduct from the developers there, you could say.
Misconductivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
But
you
like,
go.
like on a game that has all these like puzzles to it, like yes, there's something to be said for creativity to solve the puzzles, but at the same time, there's like creativity that like breaks the fucking game, and like it.
Someone will always push the
Somebody's
limits,
always
right?
gonna meta it.
It's
like,
no
I
different
like
than
this.
Baldur's
They
Gate
gotta know
3.
that.
The people that would stack 500 boxes and owlbear off the top rope off of
Yeah.
500 boxes
Yeah.
just to see what would happen, right? No one in the right mind is going to take the 4 hours to collect all those things, but
Yeah, somebody putting explosive barrels into a pouch and lighting the pouch on fire, like
just
Yeah.
anything.
So
People will find ways.
really, what we're saying is streamer culture ruins everything.
Mm,
Well, you're saying that, but
yeah, I think you're pretty direct with what you're saying.
I mean,
I'm
this
not
is,
saying that,
This
but
is
Kyle
shit that
is.
I would say probably happened when we were younger, and people would break games or they would try weird things, and you maybe hear about it from a friend, right? Or you get one of those like school ground, rumors of something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
It ended up
now
on
that
E-bombs
it's
or-
content, now that it is marketable and potentially valuable, worth money, right? Views equals money.
Yeah.
Like it pushes people to do that more, especially when people really like a franchise or really specifically like a game. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think if anything, like the complexity of some of those games makes that bad. You could probably make Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild half the size and do better dungeons, and it would be a better game and still be open world, still be fun. But
Yep.
that's
I don't disagree with you.
an argument for another day.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it depends on the genre too. I think when it comes to multiplayer stuff, and we've already shit on shooters, tonight. Like, I think that's a larger issue. I have absolutely no issues seeing clips of people playing stuff like Baldur's Gate or, even playing like Ghost of Tsushima or Halo. Like, just seeing people playing through a game that they're passionate about and that they love, I don't have an issue with that, because there are a lot of people out there in the world that don't necessarily have access to certain games and certain consoles, and streaming allows them to at least feel like they're part of the group. They can still experience the game just through a different medium. So like,
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we've proved Kyle wrong, I'm gonna jump in here. And
Now it's time for the Danger Dome.
yeah, no.
Fuck you, Kyle.
When we're talking about complexity to games, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up, because I play them kind of periodically, especially when I'm in a lull of gaming. I always kind of lean back and go back to sports games. And one of the things that I noticed, like, it's not even comparable if you pull up NHL 97 on the Super Nintendo and then you go and log into NHL 23 now. like it's the parallels are like completely gone. The control structure, and I have friends that play NHL and are very good at it, and kudos to those guys. But like, if I'm just gonna pick up and play NHL because like that's what I want to enjoy, I want to go play franchise, I want to win the Stanley Cup as the Calgary Flames, and I want to like have a good time. Do I need to like be able to just ever so slightly move the analog stick, and I'll have to push these two buttons to do this deke move, or I'm going to hesitate with this one, and like this is the only way to spin is this combination of movements, where it was like, can I just go back to the trick stick? Can I just have the like I push it in this direction, I do this move, and I push it in this direction, I do this move? Like it's not real enough, I'm not the fucking player. Like I don't care.
And I found that too with like even like NBA games, right? Where now you've like not only are you dribbling the ball or in any game where you're like, okay, I need to tell that guy to cut to the net.
Yeah,
that guy's
it's crazy.
gotta do this, and I'm like, I'm controlling 6 people, and like it's like I have a controller. Like that's it. Like, what do you want me to do?
This is not RTS, bro. Like I'm not looking after an army of people here. All right,
Turn-based NHL 24.
You know what I mean? Like that's where it's kind of at for me. Where I'm like, okay, like just let me play the game. Like and NBA games, like 2K games, are a nightmare for me to play defense. Like I don't play that enough, or I'm not like doing that enough to get into it. Where I'm like getting downgraded by the coach because my defense is deplorable because I can't.
I mean, Daryl, I've seen you play defense in basketball in our rec leagues.
Okay, I foul lots because
Whoa.
I can't take the volleyball out of my own self, okay? But I do play defense, all right? Nobody
Karate
out-rebounds
chop.
me. Nobody's going to out-rebound me.
I never said you didn't play defense. I said I was more thinking the style of defense was more akin to football. But
Yeah, well,
Yeah, we got to throw bows every now and then.
it's a contact sport. Get over it. But anyways, yeah, that's where I think that's my kind of number one where I think about the complexity is like, just let me pass or like give me a saucer pass button or like even if slap shot and like whatever are different buttons, I don't care, but don't make it a degree of whatever. And like the one thing I do like in the future now is the shooting stick. Like I do like that. I think that was a nice change overall, but I don't need, 20 different combinations to take whatever fucking shot I want to make. Like,
What
I think
the
we need the
issue I
balance in
have-
sports. We need to bring back the street level.
yes, like if you're
arcade
going to have this
sport
one,
game.
and this is the pro level, this is like
This is the
competition,
racing sim.
This is the tournament style NHL. EA is going to make NHL. 2K is going to make NBA. Then yeah, give me fucking give me NHL 3-on-3 pond hockey classic or whatever, and then give me NBA Street. Give me the layman's version of all of these things.
Well, and that's part of the issue with sports games too, is because we get a new fucking iteration every year. A lot of the mechanics change too. So by the time you get comfortable and get used to the way that a game plays, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we've actually completely overhauled the shot meter in NBA.
Yeah.
So
That's the only thing they can overhaul.
yeah,
We
like
moved
there-
3 people on the rosters, and fuck, how do we tell them it's not
Yeah.
the same game?
There's so much that they
Quick,
could change.
switch
that
the
would
left and
improve
right
this,
stick.
but-
That'll fuck them up for a week.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's honestly like sports games are a huge problem. I think there is an issue with just open world RPGs as well. Adding in too many mechanics, too many things to collect, and then you've got a crafting menu now in most of those games. Like I was kind of thinking back to franchises that have been around a long time, and the one that stood out to me was Assassin's Creed.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I remember Assassin's Creed really up to like Revelations. Those games were 90% about stealth, and it was parkouring around the map, stealth combat, taking down, high value targets, and then, dropping a smoke bomb and getting the fuck out of there.
Yes.
And then with, I think it was Assassin's Creed Origins, the one in Egypt, there was a huge uproar from the fan base because they fully dove into RPG mechanics. So you had gear levels with different stats. Enemies had different health levels as well. But
Too
then
much.
you had like damage numbers, like Borderlands type stuff where you hit somebody, you see, oh, is it a crit hit? Is it a normal? And it just like it completely removes you from the immersion of that world. Because it's like, shit, I'm fucking exploring Egypt. This is cool as hell. That guy just
Damage
had
numbers.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
guy just had a 95 pop above his head. That's kind of weird. And like there's a lot of RPGs out there like that now. And again, maybe sometimes getting back to the basics is okay.
Just preaching to the choir. Trevor's playing it right now, and I played it, and I have not gone back to it. But it's like Final Fantasy VII,
Oh,
the second chapter, is so heavy with like so many different things. The combat was already different in remake. Like it was already different, and it was already outside of the original game, like being turn-based and all of that stuff. And instead of running with it, with what they did in the first one, they took it and then made it harder again.
more.
They just, it didn't need more. It just didn't need more. It didn't need it.
Because
Yeah.
of one battle, I am now at the Golden Saucer. If anyone has played Rebirth, it's the middle of the game and you are forced to do like 80 fucking mini games, which is its own thing that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
And there's one mini game where you're in combat simulator and they're like, here's 12 guys coming at you and they're just going to stun lock the shit out of you.
Yep.
And I realized the only way to beat it is to use the block and counter mechanic, which I have not used the entire game.
I know.
Because I forgot it existed because it shouldn't be there.
It
Because
shouldn't
it's like,
even be the
because you're
feature, though.
holding R1, which is block. And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, here's another menu of entirely different movesets that you don't normally use.
Nope.
Meanwhile, you're cycling through your characters trying to get their attack meter up so that you can use skills, because when you're not controlling those characters, they just fucking sit around and point at the sky.
Ooh, pretty butterfly.
Yeah. And it's just like,
Ooh, piece game.
I agree with Daryl. Like, I love Final Fantasy. The story is fantastic, but some of the stuff that they have done, I'm just like, why? Why, guys? Like, why does this have to be so complicated? And I would say that's the same thing with a lot of the newer JRPGs.
Yeah.
Even Tales of Arise occasionally was like that, where it's just like, guys, we don't need like the secondary, tertiary, like 5th level menu by holding 4 buttons and hitting square to do a skill.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I
said
don't necessarily need to access all 80 of my skills at one time.
At the same
That's
time.
part of building a character and strategizing for a game.
I remember playing Final Fantasy VII Remake probably like 6 months after Daryl had played it already. And one of the first things I said to him, I was like, game is gorgeous. Story is awesome. Love the characters. Why the fuck isn't this turn-based?
Yeah.
I was like, there's
it
so
still
much to
kinda
look
bothers me.
at. Like, there's so much to look at, and the special abilities look visually so good. I'm like, man, I'd love to just be able to like press an action prompt and then watch it unfold. But it's like, because I'm in Manager Simulator and I've got to fucking, figure out what all my other guys are doing in the party, I miss half the shit that's on the screen. I'm looking at health bars and SP meters and,
Trying to
me,
assess
that takes,
the enemy, and you're just like,
yeah,
I just
that
think
takes
like
the fun out of it for me.
It's a testament to like some of the old styles of gaming. When I think about Dragon Quest 11, and I think how much I enjoyed that game, because it took me back to all of those turn-based games. This one, the enemies were out on the map, which wasn't normal back then, especially in PlayStation 1 age. They're not out there, so you can't see it. So it's just random encounter, timed, right? Whereas like it adds it, you can see it, you can go run into it. Cool. Like that was kind of PS2 era, right near the end, where you could do that. But it still ended up being a turn-based battle. And instead of being locked in position in like a row of 3 where you're like, go back to your start position and wait your turn. Like it was a little bit more fluid. It was like a little bit more fluid, where like the people were moving around the map and just like, oh, they make their attack, now they're close to it, but you're still kind of in this confined area. And I was like, man, if they would have done that, I'd still be playing the game. Like you know what I mean? Like, but how do you engage the old gamer and the new one? How do you get both? And is that style of gameplay just for our generation? Because that's like, we were used to it. Would it fly now? I don't know. You know what I mean?
So,
I just don't know.
I think one of the best examples of this is going to be in 2025, and it's Expedition 33, Daryl.
Oh, yeah, well, right. I know, because if it flies, then
because like to me that does bridge the generations. It's like, yes, it is still turn based, but you've got button prompts during attacks. You can
Legend of Dragoon style. Let's go.
Exactly. And so like, to me, that is the best way to kind of blend both worlds, but still keep that simplicity in there for an RPG. Like, I'm super excited for that game. I think that game is going to be insanely good.
So, speaking of insanely good.
Hey, thank you.
Segway.
My dog drove a Segway once. We're gonna take take a little break here and dive into another episode of The Treasure Trove. Jordan.
All right. Well, we got another episode of The Treasure Trove. For those that haven't listened to our podcast before, I am known as the guy who plays anything and everything. So I got my own segment about that. Today, this week's episode is about simplicity and not crazy mechanics and not being stuffed in your throat with dumb shit. Let's calm down a little bit.
Jordan's slow
We're
jams.
gonna put some like jazz music over this or something.
Exactly. This is a relatively new game, which makes it all the more appropriate. It is a game called Neva.
I knew it.
It launched, I think, 2 weeks ago. By the time this episode comes out, it might be a month or so. But developed by Nomada Studio. They're the same company that did a game called Gris a couple years ago. Gris, for a lot of people, probably have never heard of the name, but you've probably seen the artwork or the poster of the game. It's like very, very beautiful watercolor art, very vibrant colors. I think it's on Game Pass and all that stuff too. So probably
It's on PS Plus right now.
Yeah, it's on PS Plus.
There you go.
This game is a side scroller puzzle action game. It's similar kind of idea as Gris, very vibrant colors, kind of a watercolor art style, very minimalistic in certain parts. But they really lean into music and sound and color to kind of invoke emotion, different levels, different bosses. Best way that I can kind of explain story-wise a little bit is this is essentially Princess Mononoke from Studio Ghibli, but in video game form.
Sick.
For anybody
Kyle's
that
so
knows,
confused.
You make me sad.
you hurt my insides.
We all know
Kyle.
the reference except for this guy.
Yeah. Anybody that knows me, Princess Mononoke is my all-time favorite Studio Ghibli movie.
No.
So as soon as I heard that it was similar to that, it was an instant buy. But yeah, the music is phenomenal. The game's only about probably 4 hours, maybe 5.5 if you're gonna 100% it. So like it doesn't take very long.
Cool.
I think I cried probably 2 or 3 times throughout the
All
game.
right.
Average half a cry per hour.
Were you listening to this with like a Hans Zimmer soundtrack as well, or
This
no, not
this
needed.
game is on a potential future jukebox, Kyle.
Oh.
It's so good.
The soundtrack is that fucking good.
It'll
Is
never let you down.
Yeah. But for anybody that's looking for kind of maybe a weekend play, definitely check it out. The game's called Neva. I think it goes for about $25-$30. Highly recommend. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. And honestly, it's in like my game of the year consideration for myself.
wow,
It's that good.
he's
There's also
never
like
going to give you up. Never going to let you down.
There you go.
You're welcome.
It's also got like a antler dog thing. Is that
Yeah.
it
Jackalope?
revolves around you and like your dog, right?
It's a jackal. It's a jackal.
No,
Yeah,
a
so-
jackalope's a rabbit with the.
No, I know
Right.
that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Okay,
jackalope is a rabbit.
focus, you fuckers. So yes, Neva is the name of the deer, dog, wolf dog, whatever you want to call it. And there's a mechanic where you press a button to call the dog, and that's how you do certain puzzles. and
Bearman
stuff.
Pig is real.
Sick.
All
So if
right,
you got
thank you,
pets
Jordan.
and you want to cry.
Yes.
Thank you once again for another great week of the treasure trove that we always seem to ruin one way or another. Right, Daryl?
Neva.
Neva. We never do that in this group.
I've
No.
never ruined anything in my life.
No.
So bringing it back around, do we have a few more examples we want to bitch about, especially as far as complexity is concerned?
I've got a quick one. A quick,
Okay.
easy win. Any MMO on console.
Yeah.
Any MMO on console. If you
Just
were
any
debating,
MMO.
Yeah.
thank God most of them are free.
Oh my
If you were
God.
debating trying one, get a computer first. Like even the shittiest laptop.
There was
It doesn't go well. It just
No.
doesn't work.
there's one that just came out from that like Amazon Gaming.
Yeah.
New
It was
world.
New
like-
world.
New
no,
world.
no. It's new. It's newer than that. It's like
You're lying to
something.
me.
No, something and glory.
I
I
thought
was
it was
talking to you guys
new.
about it.
I thought it was New World
That
Eternal,
was an
which is just
expansion.
the
Expansion.
Yeah.
which is just the 2.0 version of New World.
No, this is something else, and it is.
Oh.
You're gonna give me a second because it's
It's Blades of Glory for Super
oh my
Nintendo.
God.
Talladega Nights.
Either way, there's a few games I could think of if you have an MMO designed more like a Diablo, where you've only got so many skills.
Yeah.
Like like a game. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
I found it. Throne and Liberty,
Oh yeah, just
another
one of those
Amazon MMO, and I
pump
literally played 10 minutes, and I was like on controller. I was like, fuck this.
The most generic name of
Ugh.
all time.
Now, what do you do? Do you just fight for democracy and liberation? And like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you actually yell freedom as you run into rooms with your.
Okay, Braveheart.
Are just
Yeah.
storming the Capitol on January
Yeah.
6th? Is that what this is?
On that note, though, Kyle kind of touched on it. Not every game needs a skill tree.
No.
Like,
No.
You know, there's certain games that actually detracts from the experience of it. Like that to me, again, that's that depth versus complexity thing. Adding a skill tree into a game does not automatically be, oh, well, we got a lot of depth to our game. It's like, no.
Certain games are meant to be that way. Like Diablo, I feel is meant to have that. It has from
Has
the
to
very
have a skill
beginning.
tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting into. You're gonna play the. You know, there's only so many classes, but you can tweak it to play your style through different means. And like, I feel, but even then, like, there's complexity there that's like kind of unnecessary. Like,
Okay, but on the other end of it, Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2,
Yeah,
that
it's
skill
scary
tree
fuck.
is
that
is
massive.
daunting. Like
And it's
daunting.
and that's concerning
It is
to me. Like
concerning.
the game
It
looks
is for me
great,
too.
but that's a game where you have your phone open the entire time to be like, if I make one wrong move, my character isn't optimized and I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Right? And it's
I don't enjoy games like that.
no, sometimes
No.
it takes away.
I don't mind following a build.
Yeah. There
It
there
doesn't
will
really
be
bother me.
theory crafters that do the heavy lifting for us.
Yeah,
I like games that have a little bit of a buffer to be like, hey, you know what? If you don't want to like fully maximize your build, but there's a couple abilities from a different class that you just really enjoy and think are fun, fucking throw them in, equip
Yeah.
them. You know,
Yeah.
like we're not gonna break your build just because you want to, mix things up a little.
You're
bit.
missing
Like,
one skill point.
Yeah,
But there-
I appreciate that, but
But in that same realm, there are games that I think would, like Diablo, that turn well as a MMO style game that are consolable. like Kyle,
It's
like think of
okay.
Guild Wars. Think of Guild Wars 2. Your skill tree is
Yeah.
what, 6 or 8 skills. You could easily
Yeah,
play that on
that could
a
work.
console.
That could
That was a
translate.
game that probably should have gone to console, honestly.
But they
But-
didn't have the power.
There's a reason that WoW is not on console.
yeah, because it's crazy.
yeah, it'd be impossible.
And that
Yeah.
skill tree has only gotten larger over the years
Oh
too.
my
Like that
God.
shit
I-
is wild.
And I see people with their like menu bars. If I ever see someone with like gameplay, I'm just
Dude.
like, even on a keyboard, I was like, there's a reason I don't play WoW, and
I
it's that.
when I was playing a lot in university, like I had like UI mods that I could set my skill tree up or like all my skills up, and it was like a box at the
It was a
bottom of the
brick.
screen
Yeah.
with like tons of different like button like just shortcuts and stuff.
I basically chose anything that I was like, give me a class that I can be really good at, and I only have to push 5 buttons.
Just
So I was like,
Just
Yeah.
face roll on the
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That was-
1, 2, 3,
that was
4,
my
5.
whole thing. I was like, oh, good. I found it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like on the flip side, I just beat an indie game today called The Gunk. Terrible name, by the way. But that's one of those games that had a skill tree. I wrote in my notes, I was like, I do not know why this game has a skill tree. I bought 90% of the skills, and I honestly don't feel like any of them did anything. Like my character felt the same at the end of the game that he did at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
You know,
Because you were in the
Yeah.
gunk.
You were in the gunk.
Maybe
I
the
was in
skills
the
were
gunk.
the friends we made along the way.
But I got another one that I'd be curious to know what your guys' thoughts are, because I stumbled upon this in a tactics RPG I played recently, and I actually thought it was a really great like quality of life feature. So, you know, that the whole depth versus complexity thing. This game in its options had like a difficulty slider. So like you could change the core difficulty from normal to easy or hard or whatever. But then you could actually tailor the experience to what mattered most for you. So like in this case, I didn't want permadeath for my character, which is by default a thing in the game. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to toggle that off. Like I don't want to have to stress out about my character dying and not being able to use him again.
Fire
So,
Emblem style, buddy.
yeah. You know, so like I'm just going to toggle that off. And then, you know, things like the evil within this horror game, a lot of it's like resource management, like don't shoot a lot of bullets, don't use a lot of your med kits and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking stress out about that. This game is stressful enough.
I'll
Like,
collect 99 potions and I'll use them as I see fit.
Exactly. You know, so same thing. I can go into the options and I can set that to, okay, well, I don't have to worry about resources being sparse in this game.
Yeah.
So it's like, I appreciate that kind of stuff. And I honestly wish more AAA games offered that stuff, because I think a lot of them don't.
There's been more adjustment for
It's getting
like
better.
adaptability and accessibility. I mean,
Yes,
it's still not
for
there
gamers,
for
which is
everything.
great.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
a lot of that
Yeah,
stuff has
love
been
that.
great.
The other good modern one would be Sea of Stars, right? Because you
Yeah.
had those items that you could
True.
just buy or have, and you
Yeah.
could choose to equip them or not. And it's just like, you know, longer deflex time or what, I can't remember what they all were, like more health, like you can't die, right? And so you could
Yeah.
honestly cater it, be like, well, if your ability doesn't match, or if, like you have a physical incapability, or you just don't want to deal with it, like,
Well, I mean, when we talk about, that's a nice quality of life thing as we've gone older, but that's because the games have gotten longer and are built to be played at home. Whereas like when we were
Yes.
kids, games were 2 hours long in total, but they were impossible to beat. So you had to, you know what I mean?
made
Like,
for arcades to take your money.
yeah, it was made for you to keep replaying the same, 20 levels over and over again, like trying to either beat a score or just like get through it. And so I think that part is really nice, when some purists might be like, oh, fuck that. Like, just, that's not part of the game. Like, you have to be good to beat the game. And it's like,
Play
well,
it as it's intended.
yeah, but now the length of the game has changed significantly. Like, even a game like Sea of Stars that, that's made 25 years ago. Sea of Stars is probably a 5-hour game, like in its totality. But
Yeah.
now it's a 40, 50-hour game. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you guys. And like, I think we're getting to that point where, again, it's also having to be conscious of respecting players' time, because there's so many games releasing every week nowadays, and there's just not enough time to play everything. So it's like,
no,
I don't know how you play the amount of
overwhelmed.
games you do.
I never understood that.
No.
Jordan doesn't sleep a lot.
I don't know how he does it.
Well, I had a few years there where I did not sleep much at all. But yeah, it's like for me, The Evil Within, I was like, oh, you know what? It's Halloween. I want to play a spooky game, but like Dragon Age is just around the corner. I was like, I don't want to spend 40 hours dying constantly in this game. I just want to experience the story. So
just wanna
like
know
I
what happens.
scale, I scale a few things back. Resource gets bumped up. And I can play a game like that in 12, 15 hours. And it's like that's perfect for me.
I'm too much of a completionist. I just
Okay.
can't.
Yeah. Did we exhaust our options here, guys? Have we
I think we've said our
griped?
piece.
Have
think
we
so.
griped to
I
gripe
think
sake?
we've agreed that there's a room for complexity at times, but
Intentional complexity.
intentional with regards to your audience. But as for me, I would say, like, as a greater holistic gamer that's into a lot of things, I don't even need the depth. Just give me the game that I enjoy playing. Like, just make
Sometimes
it an
less
is
enjoyable
more.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you-
One other one that we didn't talk about, and I'm just gonna throw the name out there because I know Kyle's had an issue and Daryl too. Space Marine 2.
Yeah.
That had some mechanics like the parry system and stuff that
Unnecessary.
probably just didn't need to be there, right? But no, I agree with Daryl. Like there's a time and a place for it. I think by default, every developer just assumes their game has to have all of these mechanics put in for it to be successful. Sometimes less is more in today's world.
Yep. And sometimes less is less.
But sometimes less
more is
better.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was a good grape session, guys. I was able to vent a little bit of the Call of Duty frustration from getting my ass handed to me for like 3 hours straight. But once
Unk
again,
problems.
folks, yeah,
Get good, kid.
Yeah, like, let us know. Are we old and just, like, withering away in our gaming skills? Are we part of the Git Good club, or are we on to something here? Let us know.
Yeah. Or if
do
there's
they
games
need
that
to
we
make
missed.
9-to-5ers lobbies?
Yeah.
Hey, one of my favorite.
Please take a photo of your driver's license, and we will put you in the appropriate lobby.
Hey, one of my favorite games is Bloodborne. Okay, I'm not too old of a gamer.
No, it's just some things are over the top complex to what they need to be.
Yeah,
It's
like
just
this
the way it's-
extremely long outro.
We're good at those.
I think it's good enough.
Good enough.
Yeah, good enough.
Good enough.